way, same way we took over the American Indians' land here.
Sounds like
Call them savages, kill them, and it's okay to kill them.
too bad.
Well, you'd be happy to know I attended an FDA seminar about supplement regulations, which started last June, and they're going to come down on supplements like, they better make them like pharmaceuticals or else
Absolutely.
shut them down. Which is good in some respects because now there will be some truth in whether or not the ingredients are what they say on the label.
Yeah.
Basically.
But the problem is if they're treated chemically, especially with kerosene derivatives, then they're not going to be active.
Yeah, they won't say that. You'll never know how they process it, but that's Thank you, Joe.
Well, about 2.5 weeks ago, I got a call while I was in Washington, D.C. I went to see, I don't know how many people got my email yesterday. Jeff Slay and I and Christine Chesson from San Francisco and Jeff Slay from St. Louis. We all went to Washington, D.C. and met with Dr. Ron Paul, Congressman Ron Paul, to finish the raw milk bill, to make raw milk legal to transport beyond, through interstate. And I worked very hard at getting that meeting together. Scott, who's down here, Scott Robinson, he and I worked 2.5 months getting this meeting together. And Ralph Nader and his people were supposed to show, and none of them showed, except for some attorney who said he wasn't there representing Ralph Nader. Why the hell did he show up, except to say he was going to fight the bill? So that didn't get anywhere, but Ron Paul did submit the bill to the House of Representatives on Wednesday. So the bill is H.R. 778. So I'll be sending out emails in the next week, so to contact your representatives, and just you have to really try to get in to talk to somebody, and to get my Dr. Douglas's my report on raw milk. Try to get somebody to read it in each office. So anybody who wants to volunteer to do that. A year and a half ago, Jeff Slay and I and 4 other people went to Washington, D.C., and we went to 535 offices, congressmen and all the Congress people there. And we visited every office in a little over 2.5 months and gave them the report. And we got about 78 people who were going to support the bill. And those 78 could pick up others. Year and a half now, because Sally Fallon held the whole bill up for over a year. She and her attorneys, so I got really pissed off about that. So I don't know how much my work is going to count, a year and a half ago for now, because now we have all these new senators and representatives in office. So I'm not going to be able to do it on my own, and we're going to need as much help as possible for that. About 2.5 weeks ago, I was in Washington, D.C. for that. And the doctor's TV talk show called me. They flew me back to L.A. and then flew me back to. I said you had to buy me a ticket for both the D.C. because I may have to go back to D.C. or may have to go visit my parents in Dayton. So they said okay. So anyway, it aired on Monday. They let more in than any other show is allowed. I got to challenge the doctors. They were saying, nobody should eat raw meat out there. And I said, how many people have you observed eating raw meat that you can make such a statement? Because there are 4 MDs on that show. And you've got one person like me combating it. So I said, I've observed 25,000 people. Nobody's gotten sick on it. So, it's a myth as far as I'm concerned. But they cut out about 5 minutes of my retorts on what they had to say. But they left some good stuff in there.
So they weren't convincing.
Well, I think three of them, and the three of the doctors were a little bit considerate about it, but the young one, Dr. Stork, he's kind of a chauvinist.
When did it air?
Aired Monday. It aired in 10 days. Shot it on a Friday and aired on a Monday. 10 days later. It was that quick. So, I was surprised. They did let me. They did keep in the part about milk. They said, well, milk is dangerous, salmonella and all this bacteria. And I said, well, at UC Davis a couple of years ago, they spiked the raw milk with 5 bacteria that are believed to contaminate raw milk. And they found that because the lactic acid was raw in the raw milk, that the bacteria wouldn't grow. But when they spiked the same bacteria into pasteurized milk, it grew in a flask. So I said it's dangerous in pasteurized milk. So, nobody had any comments about anything that I said beyond that, except no, raw meat is dangerous. Right. And that's all they could report. Or the one fellow, Dr. Stork. So at least it got on the air, and they let me say some, viable things that they allowed to stay in. But when I shut him up about the 25,000 people that I've observed and he just mouth dropped, I went into a whole 5-minute or 4 or 5 minutes talking with the audience so they would understand how the bacteria works, how you've got digestive juices which fractionates your food molecules into smaller particles so that the bacteria can eat, and that's how we thrive. If we don't have good bacteria, we don't have good digestion. So the bacteria's waste product or produce, their byproduct is our food. That's how we feed ourselves. So, nobody knew that's how it worked. What do they think the intestinal bacteria is all about? So
the audience reception was okay?
Well, they were, because I was sitting here nibbling, because they had a plate of raw meat there. They had a chicken leg with some chopped chicken, raw meat, some raw milk. And they told me I was going to eat. Now, I did a show with a famous comedian, a talk show, back in the early 90s. And we sat down, she ate a pizza, and I ate my raw chicken in front of the audience while we talked. And I thought that's what it was going to be. But no, here I was standing up with this really tall guy, and I'm looking up this high, at that doctor. And all this, table of food, small little bitty table of food, was sitting there. So I was nibbling because I got hungry because I thought, I took an egg and I sucked it out from the audience. I took the chicken leg and ripped it off. And picked that.
They got their money's worth.
I don't have a copy. I taped it on my TV.
I can't find it online.
So, anyway, it was an episode called The 10 Most Bizarre Health Modalities or something like that.
So you were only a portion of it?
Oh, yeah, I was
the
number 9 of 10.
That's it.
Who else did they have on? Bizarre people?
They had, talked about people who lived on IVs, and they showed a couple of these skinny models that looked like they came out of Auschwitz.
Wow.
They live on IVs, give them energy, and one guy was drinking some kind of a liquid water and amino acid combination for 15 days as a detox routine. And then they had these guys who were out there, how they brought this into health, I don't know, but, they have those squirrel suits where they're flying.
That's hilarious.
So that was one of the things. I left before any of the others, so I didn't know. I was number 3 up there, even though I was number 9. So, that I thought it was very good that they left that much in. I was impressed that they left that much.
Get the word out.
Yeah.
So what
Well,
do
it's
they
just
expect
planting that seed that, wait a minute, this guy who was dying of, cancer, blood, bone, stomach, and limb, ate raw meats and got well.
I have to see it down.
Yeah.
So the world's going to have to wait for a pandemic or an epidemic before they start looking around for another answer. What do you think?
Who knows? Okay, I'm going to start with Q&A. Do you have any questions?
I've been on this diet for, I don't know, 8 to 10 months, and I got not too long ago, a little skin cancer, a little basal one. Is that something that would be affected by the diet eventually, or would the detox make that more possible at first?
That is the detox.
Is it?
Cancer is the inability to dissolve and discard dead cells, so they collect in tumors. A wart is a tumor. A mole is a type of tumor. Any kind of fibroidous tumor, or cancerous tumor is a collection of dead cells. Your body can't dissolve them and get rid of them, so it collects them. And the skin cancer is very easy to get rid of. You just put some raw apple cider vinegar on it once or twice a day. It'll just keep peeling away. Or you can put some fecal matter on it. The same thing.
Fecal matter?
Stinks, but yeah. E. coli will eat it up. They feed on it.
Would the bone marrow be good for that or not?
Not for it to break down a cancer. You put that on after you dissolve the tumor to help heal it.
When you say stuff like that, are you talking about human, or it doesn't matter? Human
what?
Fecal matter.
No, human. I don't know any human that has healthy shit. I don't know any healthy human. I mean, I finally met some. Apart from the '70s, in the Philippines. I finally met some indigenous tribes that still live primitively, and what a life! All they did was go fishing once a day, catch the fish. They ate the fish. They climbed the palms, got some coconuts off. The women ate about a half a coconut a day, the mature meat. They didn't eat the young meat. And the males ate from 3/4 to a whole, depending upon their size. And they ate about 1 to 2 pounds of fish a day, and maybe a banana or a mango. And that was it. So all they did was sit around, enjoy the sunshine, maybe go swimming, and that was their life.
No vegetables, anything like that?
No, they didn't eat any vegetables.
How old were they?
Well, the ones I got to meet with were from 60 to 80. And the 80-year-old man, who seemed to be the leader, or the leader of that group, the elders, they wouldn't let me back into the tribe. These came out to meet me. These people were brought out to meet me. And the way that I got that, I've been trying for 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks, with the authorities, because you have to have permission. They wouldn't even rent me a car. Budget wouldn't even rent me a car when I told them where I was going to go.
Oh, is that right?
They said, you can't go back there. They'll kill you. There's cannibals. The only cannibals I know are still in. That's what they said. They were cannibals.
Is that right?
So, and they have people terrified to go back where these tribes are. So I went for a massage at a health spa, and the receptionist there had a little baby that was about 5.5 months old, almost 6 months old, and the baby was white. I mean, white as her pants or as her shorts. And the mother was dark brown and the father was black. And this baby was so anemic, so leukemic, that the baby was white and very weak. So there was a nearby island on Samal Island where I had made a contact with a dairy, and they were selling me raw dairy. Now, they would feed it, like they would feed each cow during milkings. They were grazed cows, but at milking time, they ate probably about 10 pounds of green bananas. That was what they were fed, for milking time. So I smelled like unripe bananas, after a few weeks of drinking that milk. You know, kind of the alamy that smells, you know, with the peels on them.
Did you like that smell?
Not really, you know, it's not the, but it was better than, you know, a foul odor. It's still an unusual alamy odor, or fragrance, whatever you want to call it.
Banana split, huh?
Pardon?
Banana split.
There you go. So I got some raw milk, took it to the mother, and she fed it to the baby. In 3 days, the baby's color came in. It was fine. The grandfather, who was about 53 years old, was so happy and so elated that he had left his tribe 33 years before when he was 20 years old, in the tribe out around the Mati area where that island juts off from the Mindanao. So he said, well, I work for the government, I'll give you permission. He couldn't even get permission to get me back there. He says, I'm going to take you back anyway. So we took a 4-wheel drive way back, and then we had to boat it across, and we had to hike many miles back. And then he had a cousin that had only left the tribe about 9 or 10 years earlier. So he had him go to the tribe and say that I wanted to talk to them and ask them questions about health and diet and their lifestyles and stuff like that, and would they be willing to do it. So then 5 people came back with him, and 3 were women and 2 were men, and they were all from, I would say, 58 to 80 years old. And the 80-year-old man looked like he was about 48 to 50. Great teeth. I mean, can you imagine being 80 years old? Thick, beautiful white teeth. No dental cavities, no discoloration of the teeth, anything. And he just ate those 3 foods.
Pardon me, what were they eating on?
Fish, raw fish, all raw. Fish and coconut meat, and sometimes they would grate it and wring it, just get a little extra fat. But not very often. They mostly eat the coconut.
You're able to chew that?
Pardon?
Coconut meat?
Pardon?
You're able to chew that? It's hard to chew.
They have incredible teeth. That's what I'm saying.
Like
They
a
can chew on
dog, huh?
bones.
Wow.
Like a dog.
Yeah, one was chewing on a vertebrae bone from, a tuna, big tuna, this big around.
Wow. What was the third food? Coconut, fish, and...
And then either it was a fruit, either mango or banana was the fruit that they ate. But they didn't eat the fruit every day,
Now,
except for the coconut.
You don't think that diet would work for us, do you?
Well, we need more nutrients because we're so toxic. You know, it works for them.
Was their air quality really good?
Oh, no pollution anywhere. There's
Oh,
no
really?
industry on that island. There's
Oh,
no
it's a separate
houses.
island.
There's no electricity. There's nothing. They live primitively.
No fire.
No fire.
The cancer that you mentioned, how much apple cider vinegar on this nodule or whatever it is?
Just rub it on.
Just rub it on.
Just rub it on for a couple of minutes till it dries.
How many times a day?
Twice a day. And what'll happen is it'll dry, and each day you'll just be able to peel a layer off.
I live in a senior community, and there's a lot of people with cancer on their face. And I just
Everywhere.
roll my eyes, and they're going for medication and all kinds of crap. So they don't know about this. Unbelievable.
I don't know how many of you remember, but
So many
remember this
people.
mole? It's twice this size and was black. And my mother was always worried when I was a child. She wanted to have it removed. But she had 15 of them removed on me, but not this one. And then it turned very inflamed and red last year. So I just put the vinegar on it, peeled a few layers off. There it is. You know, half the color it used to be and half the size. And, the irritation around it disappeared. Just like that. Do you have a question?
Yeah, when I first hurt my feet, I developed lymphedema right away, and I think that's one of the reasons that I'm still stuck in this chair, is that my feet, I have lymphedema pretty bad in my
Do you
feet.
perspire in your feet?
No.
That's your problem. See, when the lymph system cleans, it cleans all byproducts. it dissolves them and neutralizes them, dumps it into the connective tissue to be perspired out of the body. If you don't perspire, it just keeps collecting and collecting, and then you have edema. So you've got to perspire. You've got to put your feet in, a hot tub or something like that till they perspire enough. If you've got it that bad, what you can do is take a hot water bottle, put it between your legs, and wrap towels around it so your feet perspire for several hours during the night.
My feet get, when this acts up, my feet get incredibly hot. They turn bright red, and they're like
They're
super
trying to
hot
perspire. Yep, trying to perspire. If you give them the heat, they won't have to heat it on their own. Because when your body heats itself, when you've got acrid solutions in the connective tissue, you usually cause a rash, and then caustic substances will start damaging the connective tissue, and you end up with lupus or MS. So, not a good thing. So it'd be better to use a hot bath, a foot bath, or as long as there's no electrical field in it, or your hot water bottles with towels. After that.
Could you put meat on that, and would that suck things out? No, it doesn't work that way.
clay.
If you have a bruise, it works pretty well that way, but not for that kind of a solution.
With clay? Think clay would help clean out?
No, clay would have a tendency to dry your skin, so when the caustic substance came out, moved through the skin, it would damage your skin. You'd have a worse rash. Underneath the third layer, first two layers it would protect, but the third layer wouldn't. That would be damaging. If that gets damaged, you don't reproduce cells, and then you end up with either eczema or psoriasis.
So using that therapy, put coconut cream on it after you're done or something?
Sure, that's fine. Coconut cream while you're doing it could be okay too. Not coconut oil, that'll choke it. But coconut cream is full of water and fat-soluble vitamins and enzymes.
You could put that in the hot water
You could do that if you want. Max, do you have a question?
No, not right now.
Okay. Do you have a question?
You have a question? Oh, I do, but I don't know what to ask right now.
It'll come back.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
One quick one and then another one. I've been on a diet for a couple months since I saw you, which I gained like 3 pounds. Great.
Congratulations.
And you're right with the cheese. Doesn't bother my stomach at all. It's taken away every bit of nausea that the butter sometimes gives me from dumping in toxins from my stomach. Perfect.
Good.
And I can have yogurt and milk, which I haven't had in 15 years. So that's been amazing.
Congratulations.
I've been eating a lot of beef as opposed to chicken. Like very, very little chicken, but I feel good eating beef. Like I crave it. And I really don't crave chicken. I crave beef.
You don't get irritable?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Well, fine. Until you do, be okay.
Okay.
When you start getting irritable or your tongue starts getting too acidic where it's bleeding or blistering, your mouth gets too red, it gets blistered and rash,
Okay.
then you're getting too acidic. Then you need to back off of the red meat.
Okay. Good to know. Another question we have is in the news there was the actor who had that mercury poisoning.
Yeah. Jeremy
That BS. I mean, is that...
It's a hoax.
Okay.
It's bull.
He's supposedly at high mercury levels when they tested his blood, though.
Yeah, but he could have high. A lot of your actors, and you'll notice that when they say it, children and travelers have your high ratio of mercury. Why? Vaccines. Vaccinating children, travelers are getting vaccines all the time because somebody tells them they're going to get yellow fever or some other kind of disease. So they get a bunch of vaccines before they do it. So the mercury level is off the chart. And of course, he had a high mercury level. He had just gone with India or somewhere like that. So he had these vaccines. But they're going to blame it on what? They're not going to blame it on their vaccines because what is the result of that? Lawsuits. So they blame it on the fish. But how many people in Japan and Japanese and all the people who eat sushi all over the world, why aren't they getting mercury poisoning? Why aren't they getting reactions like that? They eat a lot more sushi than he does. So that's the scapegoat. Any kind of natural organism is blamed when it's really the medical profession and industry which are poisoning us.
The vaccines in California, I had a friend who's in college and like 50 years old, and they said you're in your second year now, and you need all the vaccines.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think so in California. I know for the public schools, you're allowed to take the waiver, but I don't know about college. Are you allowed to?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what is it? They don't tell you about it.
No, they won't. It's on the back side of the form.
They demand that you have, and I said, I think you're crazy. I said, you need to ask.
No, they don't. They don't need to.
And what is it? Is
And
it
there's a
thing,
form
or?
that I helped write, which is a acceptance of responsibility, and in it I say, according to the Geneva Convention, no one can force you to contaminate your body with any kind of medication or vaccines. If they do, they are liable. What are they liable for? To take care of you the rest of your life if anything happens. They have to, up to $2 million, something like that. They're responsible for in a lawsuit. So when they read that, and it says all of the side effects that can happen, so they sign it along with you. You're not going to get anybody to sign it. Even the countries, like if you're going to Brazil from Peru, they won't let you go without a yellow fever vaccine.
Right.
However, if you go with this form and you cite the Geneva Convention law, they'll keep you for like 10 to 12 hours and then let you out. And I don't mind 10 to 12 hours being held up.
They'll keep you at the airport?
Yeah,
Because you don't have your
in the
vaccine
customs
card.
areas.
Where can you
Yeah.
get a paper like that?
Well, just email me.
So if you want to go to another country, or if you go to school in another state, is that only for California that they have a waiver for college? And
Well,
public school, or is
you have
that
to go to Sherry Penny's, Tenpenny. Sherry Tenpenny's website. She lists the states where you have to, there's no escape for vaccines for your children or anybody. And she says if you live in one of the states, leave. That's your only option, leave the state. However, nobody's challenged it with the Geneva Convention. I'm the only one, so far.
You've traveled everywhere. Right?
Travel everywhere, and I don't take any vaccine.
No. Cool.
So it isn't necessary. You just have to know how to argue from a legal stand and scare the shit out of them. Because it says right there in the Geneva Convention that you are anybody who forces another person against their will to contaminate their blood with any medication, experimental or accepted. They have to take full responsibility for the consequences of contaminating your blood with that. So when they read that, they don't do it. They just say, "Oh, screw you! Then get out of here. Get away from me. Go your way." Allison, do you have a question?
Yeah, I've noticed I've probably been doing the diet for a month.
Uh-huh.
And I noticed that my breath smells bad. And I'm just wondering how long, I have to deal with it.
Usually that kind of thing can last up to about a year and a half. Most often it only lasts 3 to 5 months.
Okay.
But what happens is when that is happening, you've had a very thin mucus lining, like in Crohn's.
Okay.
So what happens is your body has had a lot of rot in the intestinal tract. So you start breaking down your own tissue, and it's the old bacteria in there. So it's like old high rotten meat.
Okay.
And that's in your intestines. So that outgasses, and you expel some of those gases out the lungs in your mouth. And that's what creates the odor. And it isn't something local in the mouth. If you had tooth problems, if you had teeth that were black and decaying, yes, you could have that same odor in the mouth.
I feel like it's coming more from my
Yeah,
stomach.
it's from your intestines. Not your stomach, your intestines.
Oh, okay.
Can I grab you a baseball cap with a bill?
No, I want the sun. It's just with these two people.
Okay.
You know, they've got the sun so much directly. So the only way you can mitigate it is to put a little bit more. You could put like a little pineapple in your vegetable juice.
Okay.
Like 5% pineapple, or eat a couple of chunks of pineapple throughout the day. Like, you know, little half-inch by half-inch cubes every 2 hours. And that'll help reduce that. You can also chew on some mint leaves, because when you breathe the mint oils, they will help neutralize those gases coming out of the lungs.
And in your book, you say yogurt. Is that or
Not for that,
kefir?
not for that particular condition.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes kefir will make it worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But you said that you wanted me to do 3 ounces of kefir a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, if you do a lot of it,
Yeah, no, I'm
No.
just doing what you said. And then I had really bad acne for a while. I was doing a lot of the ice cream.
in that 1 month,
No, this was before, and then I had to stop because it was so bad, and I had to do reshoots for a movie, and then I stopped, and I didn't break out because I wasn't doing the dairy. But then I started again after I was done with the movie, and I started doing what you told me to do, which was like maybe a few teaspoons a day of cream, and that really helped. And I don't really have as much acne.
but just remember, 90% of the toxins in the body leave through the skin. You're going to have rashes. You're going to have acne. Like every time I eat apple cider vinegar, drink apple cider vinegar, it creates a metallic detox. So I scratched my scalp up there, and I found a scab, diluted it in some distilled water, and it had the same texture. And through my microscope, it was AZT. I haven't had AZT in 41 years. That was the chemotherapy they gave me. And it was the chemotherapy that was so toxic that they banned it in use in even cancer in humans the year later. Then they brought it out of the vaults because they had $200 million of it in the vaults for AIDS, and that's why most of your AIDS patients died, because they were getting the AZT. So that's coming out. So every time I have them, I start breaking out in spots somewhere on my body, and it's that. So you can induce that kind of a detox. I try to control it, like I'll eat cheese before I eat the juice with the vinegar in it, and maybe have a little coconut cream or dairy cream in it to mitigate it. Otherwise, these sores would be huge.
This has to do with bad breath. My dog has bad breath. I forgot all about it. Ron, I don't mind it. He's 16.
Yeah.
You told me to do honey, and I was doing honey, and I was doing cheese.
Yeah.
I don't know when he gets it. Ron is very sensitive to it.
Pretty nasty.
Well,
I have it,
So what should I
about
do?
every few
16-year-old
years I go
dog.
through it.
but this is a dog, and he's
Yeah,
on your
just
diet.
give him a few pieces of, but that dog has been on a crappy diet all of its
I'm
life.
sure.
Yeah, so,
I do give him cheese with honey.
yeah. No, you have to give him little cubes of pineapple, that'll help.
Pineapple for dog?
Yeah. Dogs are scavengers. They
I know,
will
but
eat
you
fruit.
eat pineapple? All right, thank you.
Yeah, but anything we give him, he just shits all over the place.
Well, that's a way of getting rid of it.
That's not true.
Toxins.
He just told me.
Shitting is good.
I put too much butter in his food, and God, I was embarrassed. Pineapple for nickels.
What are you laughing about? We do the same thing too when we detox, don't we?
Lorraine, do you have a question?
Yeah. I was wondering, I have a problem just getting all the food in all day.
Uh-huh.
I wondered if you could give us some tips as far as making everything ahead of time? If all of those things, are they...
Well, what I do is I make everything in the morning between the juice and the meat. Everything's prepared. There's no excuses. I don't have to run back. I don't have to get wet and dirty the dishes. It's all done for the day.
I know, like for your, let's say the fruit meals, can you make that the night before? 'Cause
No, I
asked
always
you,
make it
think-
that morning. I don't like anything except my meat prepared the day before that I'm going to have in the morning. But, my fruit, the only thing I usually use peel like a pear right now and have my cheese and pear together. So that's my fruit meal. And what I'll do is I have my cheese sliced, in a little 4-ounce jar, and my pears there to be, I wash that in the morning, and then peel it.
You don't eat the skins with the pears in it.
They put that, they're allowed 15% petroleum wax,
Even in organic?
even on the organic. James didn't believe me until he went and looked at the box.
On the pear, you
Does
said?
it say
Pardon?
vegetable oil?
Pear?
On the pears and the apples.
I know, at least
Almost
they eat
everything.
the apples
Cucumber.
and they're the red delicious. Now, I mean, even the pickles, they're
And
like
they have this
waxy.
awful feeling oily wax on them.
Cucumbers, too.
Horrible. Yeah. So everybody's supposed to peel all those.
Organic. Oh my God! But that's where most people. Well, I know you don't.
No,
like
it isn't.
fiber.
If
No.
you're an herbivore, you can digest that. Otherwise, the cellulose is too complicated. If it were raw and untreated, and you juiced it, you would get some nutrients from the peel. Otherwise, we as humans don't get nutrients from peels. It takes a cow, a horse, a sheep, goat, elephant, giraffe, to get nutrients out of a peel. The cellulose is too complex for our digestive tract.
Okay. Can you just touch on what she said about the lupus and the MS? Would a person get that just on a regular diet and versus, let's say, they're on your diet? Where does that come in play if you don't have, let's say, if she doesn't take the bath for her feet or whatever, and you're saying that it builds up in your body?
Well, just remember, this diet never puts any toxins into your body. All the toxins you've accumulated to your lifetime up to the point where you can go on this diet. However, you're receiving enough nutrients, and now that you're no longer consuming toxicity, your body's going to start removing some of that waste product, depending on what you eat. Now, there's a lot of people that go gung-ho and want to detox heavily, and they'll eat a tremendous amount of let's say, cilantro juice, and they'll eat a lot of vinegar, a lot of fermented foods to start detoxifying.
Yeah, but if they don't get it out through the skin, like let's say Alicia never takes the bath for the rest of her life. What you said that she...
I would say that she would probably end up with lupus or MS by the time she's 40, from the looks of her skin right now. She's an athlete and has no tone, muscle tone. She's dumping all that stuff into the connective tissue. It's just bloating there.
And all she needs is a short bath.
Yeah, that's good enough. It doesn't look like her lymph system's jammed. She doesn't have that appearance. It's just jamming up in the connective tissue.
Tell.
Yeah. Hey, do you have a question, Joseph?
Yeah. There's a farmer that's coming to the Hillcrest Market now that's slaughtering 60 chickens a week now. It's a small operation, and he does everything perfect as far as letting the chickens be free range. He's got a large pasture, and he cordons off certain areas, and he moves them to another one, to another one, to another one, and the chickens are totally fresh when they come. They were slaughtered the day before, and they look beautiful. The only thing I find wrong with it is the feed that he's using starts out with corn and then soy meal.
How much soy in it?
Who knows?
Like I say, anybody that's using over 25-30% soy is way too much.
How much soy is in the Rocky Junior chicken?
Rocky Junior, about 25-30. The rest is corn.
Do you know that you keep up with them, or have you noticed? I mean, is that from way back when that you still use Rocky?
Well, the last time I spoke with them was probably 2.5 years ago. But I eat it on a pretty
can
regular
tell.
basis, and taste hasn't changed.
Rosie had the higher content of soy.
Rosie was 75 to 85% soy. And, you know, they call it Rosie Organic. It's complete fraud, and I brought that up to them, you know. I talked to the executives of the company. I said, wait a minute. You feed soy to raw soy to a fowl, and it will kill them, just like it will a human. So it has to be chemically processed and heat processed. So if you're taking a soybean that's been grown organic and you're putting kerosene derivative to process it, it's no longer organic. He said, well, the FDA says we can have it. I said, but you're defrauding your customers. He said, the FDA protects us. You got that? The FDA protects us, and that's what he's saying. Not protecting the customer, the person who's eating it, protecting the producer. And that's why the Rosie tastes like cardboard.
Is there
Awful
any soy
tasting
that's
stuff.
acceptable?
Pardon?
Is there any soy that's acceptable? How about those beans you get in the Japanese restaurants, you know, those little potted beans?
They process it. If it were just fermented, it would be okay and just as a sauce. But they're always putting salt in it. So it's not good. But cows, your herbivores can eat raw soy. It's just the meat doesn't taste very good.
I bought a Rocky Junior 2 days ago and took it out of the bag from Jimbo's. I took it out of the bag, I believe that day, and cut it all up. I mean, it did not smell good at all. It smelled like what they were using to remove the feathers, that chemical or whatever they were doing. The meat didn't smell bad, but the skin did. And
Well, the skin, they dip it in.
I mean, I'm not eating it, but I mean, I just to me, I don't have a good feeling when I open up the bag of chicken. Right off the bat, it smells bad.
All chicken are handled in the same way. They dip them in boiling water for 1 to 2 seconds.
What? Yeah.
Because the feathers come right off when it happens. So your skin is cooked. So of course it's going to rot.
Okay, well that's what I was smelling.
It's going to stink very quickly.
Okay, that's what I was smelling.
So you just rip the skin off right away.
The caps that we get on the coconut cream jars, they look like they have a mylar coating underneath them. They're brown. They're not as good as the ball jars, are they?
James doesn't believe.
Pardon me?
James called the company and said, oh, they're the same as ball jar. And I said, wait a minute, you've got enamel in one, and you've got a plastic coating over an electrolyte metal.
Yeah, and
So
and also the ball. A lot of the ball.
everybody has to call him and complain.
Yeah, to me, I don't want to use those caps over again because I don't think they're any good.
Yeah.
But then another thing, the ball jars that come on the 4-ounce jars, they're painted. They've got a white paint and a pretty flower pattern on them, and also on the quilted jars, the same thing. And you keep using these over and over again, and you notice the paint's coming off.
That's not paint.
What is it?
It's a very thin enamel.
So that's okay if it goes in the dishwater? I mean, it's going to come off.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes off.
It's
I
coming
mean,
off
you-
because I can see the
yeah.
metal underneath it.
Yeah.
I thought it was rust, because I have that too.
No, the rust will come through. Once the enamel's off, then you're going to have rust on the metal
You
underneath.
don't
So
have to
should we
worry
throw it
too much.
away then? Throw it away?
Anytime rust will touch my food, it goes in the garbage.
But I don't
Recycle.
I don't have to worry about paint going in the dishwater and all that from those.
It's not paint.
Yeah.
It's enamel.
Okay.
So you'll never digest it. Can't break it down. It gets into your
What's the
system.
difference between paint and enamel? There's enamel paint, you know.
Well, the enamel's fired.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's like
It's
coating. It's like coating on a car. They
Yeah.
put it in an oven,
Yeah.
bakes it in, so it doesn't.
So I
It
don't
won't
have to-
dissolve.
So I don't have to throw those caps out then as long as they're not rusty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're
But I don't like the paint. I still don't like the enamel chips in my food.
Yeah, I prefer the ball jars that aren't painted. The
Yeah.
caps that are kind of
Is
metal
it too
colored.
expensive for James to get the ball jars?
Pardon?
Get the ball caps from James. Why
James
Or the
James
other
has
ones
his
are cheaper.
excuses. I don't know.
are they cheaper? Well, it would make sense.
The cur jars are cheaper.
Because
Than ball.
when you use the coconut cream, I mean that dissolves everything. If you leave that on this,
Yeah, but
even
you
on
have to
this,
understand the
it just-
oil seals on it. So when I take it off, I wash it off right away, and then use my other lids with it.
Pick that lid up. Which lids are you talking about?
These are ball jar lids right here.
Okay. So
But some of them
that
are
is
painted.
that is the less toxic lid. Is that what you're saying,
You're
Aajonus?
talking. This is the
That's an
enamel.
enameled, fired enameled lid.
But Aajonus, I'm talking about this part is also
Yeah.
white
Is this a
on
bad
some
one
of
or
the
is this a
jars.
good one?
Why didn't
It's
Oh,
also
yeah, yeah.
white on the.
Yeah, it's not paint, it's enamel.
Okay.
It's like this?
these are the bad ones?
Is this the one you're talking about as bad? And this is
No,
No.
no,
It
this
looks
is
like gold.
fine.
It's like this, but it's like a clear
Shiny.
coat.
Yeah.
It's a metallic.
Okay, I know what you're talking
It's a
So
metal.
we should throw ours away.
You said this was fine?
Yeah.
These are ones
That's
I got.
enamel also.
Oh, really?
These are the ones I got from James.
Fired
Coconut
enamel.
cream.
Rust on the
Yeah.
rings, that
Oh, but
doesn't
these are
hurt.
okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
These-
okay.
These
But
are
they
the
don't
ones you're
screw
talking
to it.
about.
They get,
Yeah.
they get
I know,
like
so
that.
this is what
It looks like a shiny
Copper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
metal,
copper. Yeah, well, not a copper, but
like
similar.
what the band, like
yes,
like this
just like
band?
that band. Yes.
okay.
This isn't what you're getting on your
This is
coconut
what's
cream?
not good.
No, that's not it. That's okay, right?
That's enamel.
This
It's
is
fired
what-
enamel.
This is what we're getting on our coconut cream.
That's-
James.
Where do you get your coconut cream?
From James.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Is that enamel?
Yeah, that's enamel. That's
Yeah.
fired on enamel.
On the coconut cream jar?
Yeah.
That's okay?
That, but I mean, sometimes he uses the other ones for the coconut.
Which other one? This is what
They're
he's
shiny. They look
They're
like
shiny
gold.
and
The
metal.
one piece.
They're very metallic.
been- No, he's been using those.
Yeah, this is all
Maybe
right.
he switched.
And they're coming from the Amish. They come just like that, except they're white instead of
Right.
brown.
Yeah, and those are enamel.
Those
That's
are
fine.
okay too.
Not paint, it's enamel. Well, it's an enamel paint that's baked on.
Okay. All right, then I don't have to throw those out.
When they start chipping off, I still throw them away because I still don't want that going through my body.
Have you ever
But I take care of them, so I bought these enamel outer. They got that. What do they call that pattern? That plaid pattern?
Quilted.
No, they're called. Starts with a B. Anyway, there's a certain name for that pattern, and I just take care of mine, and mine lasts years.
When I take mine out of the dishwasher, I just lay it on
Oh.
a towel. So I wait till the rust dries off. So is it time to throw those out or what?
Absolutely,
It's
they
just
got
the
rust on
outside.
them.
Just the outside. The
Doesn't
inside
matter.
is
You're gonna get
so throw it away.
rust
and find
dust
new ones.
in your
I've
food.
had it on here, and then I've gone for a drink, and
Yep.
in the metallic tastes in your mouth, and you
Absolutely.
can't get it out.
Yep.
Horrible.
It gets right into your mouth, your lips.
Well, I dried the lids. It's really easy
I
to
should
dry.
dry them right after. Yeah.
It just takes a second to dry
But
them.
we
I
have
know,
so
but
many
a lot of
jars,
people don't take
it's a
the time
nightmare.
to do things like
And then you take the rings and you shake them like that, and they dry quick when you do that.
that. I still dry them. Just takes a few seconds.
Yeah, Aajonus, have you ever heard? He said that he gets coconut cream from where? Nature's Juice?
Nature's Juice Co-op. Renee
Renee
and John.
Bental.
Yeah.
That's in Chicago. She makes it in Chicago.
And they ship all over
Yeah.
UPS.
I didn't know there was another source, so that was nice. to
Yeah,
know.
there are
It's a
two
little
other sources.
expensive,
There's
but-
one in Arizona and this one here, but let me tell you, James is, after you pay for shipping,
Yes, it's
James is cheaper.
Okay.
When I'm in Thailand, I pay $2 a quart. When I'm in
How much is real
Philippines, I
estate in
pay
Thailand?
$1.25 a quart.
They all have those machines?
Yeah.
Big machines?
A lot of them. Some of those restaurants in Thailand use 5 gallons a day. They use it in their
Do you
cooking and
think their
food
people would
processing.
be healthier?
Yeah, but they do a lot of
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
A lot healthier than we Americans, that's for sure.
They have a lot of processed food too, and cans. And
Oh, yeah. Well, those people eating that way, But there's a lot of people who can't afford to eat prepackaged foods. They go to the market and buy all fresh food. Nobody can. There's very few people that make enough. I mean, they make like $4 a day. You can't afford to buy, prepackaged food and chips and crap like that. You have to buy your basics and put your food together. Do you have a question, Lisa?
I do. Amber has one too. You go first.
Okay.
She got really toxic, and like when I got toxic, she got toxic. I don't know the same thing. She's got she lost her hair back there, and now she chews. And she will not stop stacking things like blues and resources.
That's a fungus. Put lime juice on it, on the reddened area, and then put coconut cream mixed with some honey. 8 coconut cream to 1 honey is the ratio. You just rub that on. Rub the lime juice on for maybe 3 minutes till it's dry, and then rub the coconut cream and honey on till it's dry.
Is it something internally she should be doing more? Like,
Nothing she can do unless you're going to give her a little bit more cheese. But remember, cheese is grown with mold, so just one mold adding to another. So
and then for me, like,
butter is probably a good thing.
it's still picky, so like chicken. Bones. So when I was worried about toxicity, like when I got whatever toxic exposure I had,
The ant poison.
yeah, that was everything. Right, because why would everything like dry out like I had no saliva? That's just started to die. Saliva, the tears haven't come back yet.
Well, all of your mucous membranes in your throat, your nose, even in your eyes, they were poisoned to death.
Right.
Ant poison kills human cells just like it kills ant cells.
So will the moisture come back? I mean, it's coming back some, but will that come back all?
As your scar tissue is removed.
What?
As scar tissue is removed.
That comes back.
In her eyes?
Even in the eye.
So like, why would the mouth then, like, does the glands have to happen? Does the glands have to regenerate?
Absolutely.
Do they have to regenerate with what, protein and fat? Or what's
Everything. It's got to be a balanced diet. Of course, you have to remove the poisons too.
yeah, well, there's like burning you on the same way as your nerves.
I had chemotherapy 41 years ago, and I'm still
You can
detoxifying.
tell when it's coming out. There's no
Yeah.
stuff that's very good.
You just eat a balanced diet to make sure you keep, on top of everything. A lot of people will go on seesaws, seesaw diets, pig out on one thing and then go to another thing. On the seesaw diet, so they never stay balanced. So when toxins come out, they do a lot more damage.
You mean like eating food over another?
Yeah, they'll eat too much fruit at a particular time. They're not getting enough fats and proteins, or they'll eat too much protein and get too acidic.
What if it's very even without meat?
I can't hear you with the plane. Probably Tom Cruise. He's got the loudest planes in the world.
So I do get too acidic. Even if I don't do any, all the stores, so it's like a meat. Just don't eat the red meat. It's like the red meat.
It's not a good idea to eat red meat when you've been poisoned.
It seems like let's also have some muscle mass replacing where like my body muscle.
Well, that's because poison's got in there and too much acidity. It isn't because you're not eating the red meat. If you were an athlete, red meat would probably be important for your muscle mass. Otherwise.
So will chicken give you muscle mass?
Yeah.
And but fish will.
Fish will, absolutely. When the tribe that I met, they only eat fish. And this 80-year-old guy was, nobody here is as big as he was. Put about 20 pounds on his torso up here, and that's how big this guy was, and he only ate fish. All of them were real strong, even the women. None of them were thin. They were all good and strong.
It doesn't give you energy.
Well, it won't stimulate your adrenals like red meat will.
But I can eat red meat since after what? Getting acidic, you have to
Too acidic, you might eat fish with your red meat.
And you don't have to be concerned about the mercury at all in the meat.
Not as long as it's raw.
As long as it's raw, just go for it.
I mean, unless you've been given a piece of fish that's been injected directly with mercury, you know. But I mean, the amount of mercury that the fish absorbs in its natural eating process, the fat's chelate with it. And in my laboratory tests with feces, found that the mercury was attached to the fish fats relatively unetched. So your body, because it was raw and because your body's healthier, can say, hey, I don't want to digest this because it's not good. But when you cook things, you fractionate that. You destroy all the bonds and it releases the poison. They must be rooting for Arizona.
It sounds like the coyotes I was with in the desert the past couple weeks. They scream just like that.
Well, these are Arizona coyotes.
Yeah.
Did you dry out from chemo?
Pardon?
Did you dry out chemo?
Oh, I still dry out when it comes out.
Dry.
Yeah, you can see how I've got it coming out my scalp. See how dry my neck is? Drying a little bit here, coming out the gums. Yeah. You know, I don't get to, I'm not home very much, so I'll push my detoxes a little bit. Like right now I'm eating I push my healing and detoxification, so I'm having 2 packages of bone marrow a day. Because I don't get home very much, so I'm eating a tremendous amount of bone marrow to do healing and regeneration. But other times I'll go months without it.
So what's happening? Are you losing your hair? I didn't know that that very balding back here.
Lucky I got it back after chemo. I lost all my hair after chemo, and it came back in little patches of gray. It was gray for about a year and a half.
So how much is that? Look at her hair getting darker.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
just
back
a
of
movie
mine,
star.
too.
Back of a movie star.
So what's with hair?
My hair just keeps going back and forth. You see this little gray here?
Yeah.
Sometimes they come up with big patches of gray, and then the
Yeah.
color comes back again. So it fluctuates as the poisons come out.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. And I'll lose my hair. My hair will go thin as the chemo's coming out.
My hair's totally gray.
And then it'll get thick
Wow.
again.
So it comes and it goes, huh?
Comes and it goes.
Wow.
Problem is, when I start detoxing AZT, it can run up to 2 years.
Yeah. It's
AZT was the most toxic medication ever created and administered. That's why I killed 90% of your homosexuals who had AIDS. Treated them with AZT. They got rid of their $200 million in the vaults of AZT.
Oh my God.
That was their sole interest.
I was interviewing Genentech that makes the live cell stuff. Is that any better?
The live
cell vaccines or no?
every one of, if you ever studied Pasteur, every animal he ever injected with a live vaccine died. Not one of his animals ever lived. So they put aluminum, high doses of aluminum, now that they've reduced or eliminated mercury in some of them, they put high doses of aluminum, liquid aluminum, along with formaldehyde and ether. They found that when they put a toxin in with the bacteria or the virus or whatever they call them, the disease, that it prevents anaphylactic shock. Poisons the body's worried about the poisoning rather than the degree of disease. Any animal that registers a high amount of disease in the blood thinks it's dying. And it'll go into anaphylactic shock and die. That's why Pasteur's animals never live. And that's why the pharmaceutical houses put poisons in there to confuse the body.
Well, you know, being an engineer in pharmaceuticals, Well,
what you do?
yeah. But I manufacture a bioreactor that grows skin for foot ulcers, okay? Now, I'm in charge of all that. I got to be careful that contamination doesn't get in there.
Absolutely.
But it's done in plastic, EVA, ethylene vinyl acetate, which is fairly stable, doesn't outcast, it doesn't, because the cells know. It's really amazing.
Yep.
The cells know. I mean, if I change one thing, the cells die. Or they tell me they die. I'm just the engineer that makes the bioreactor. So when you talk about this stuff, try to go in my head and see why it doesn't make any sense to me when I know the process of how live cells grow in a fermenter.
Yes, but you're talking about an unnatural environment for those cells. They're no longer natural.
Oh, that's
They
true.
really aren't anything like the human body.
That's absolutely true, because we feed them nutrients that are all artificial.
Everything's artificial.
true. That
Nothing's
is true.
natural in bioactive.
So even that future, going from regular medicines to live cell medicines is not going to hack it.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, but
I
I've
think
tried
so.
for a year.
Go to Washington.
Elaine, do you have a question?
Ron said I should ask you about my hearing. If somebody talks to me,
What did you say?
For years, I knew I couldn't hear out of my left ear. If I'm in a group of people, I can't hear what everybody is saying unless somebody's looking straight at me.
Yeah.
He says I'm getting worse, but he mumbles a lot to me.
He does mumble a lot. I have to ask him.
You see, I think he mumbles a lot, and then he says I can't hear what he's saying. I'm always saying what. So I just wondered if any of your magic potions or.
Well, my father broke both of my eardrums when I was about 10 years
I
old.
remember. I think you mentioned that.
I was autistic, so I rarely understood what he was talking about. I understood his vehemence and anger and, frustration with me. And he just said, listen to me, and he popped both eardrums.
Oh.
So I lost 60% hearing in one ear and 80% in the other.
Saying that, yeah.
And then, I always had to be a lip reader, and then I didn't know language anyway, so it didn't help, but I learned the same sounds that would come. So I just repeated them, mimicked them like a parrot. But when I got into the raw foods, they eventually got better. Now I have 80% hearing in this ear and 60% in this ear. I started using bone marrow, started putting on my finger, and I couldn't get it deep enough, so I rubbed the moister bone marrow, the one that has more oil to it, this little oiler, put it on a Q-tip and got it very oily. And that's when you leave the bone marrow out of room temperature long enough to get really soft.
I've never
So it's
seen
really-
bone marrow. It comes in a jar and you get it at Rawson or something.
You get it in the bone and you poke it out of the bone.
Where do you get this? I heard this on the last recording when Ron brought it home. What it?
It's in a bone. It's the center of the bone.
I mean, you buy it in the supermarket or what?
No.
I have no
Rawson.
idea.
You want to get like one of the kind of the femur bones of like a big cow, a big thick bone.
Oh, that's how they sell it?
It's going to be too hard to find in like a rib or you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's not enough bone marrow in it. But we get it from the buffalo. Yeah, the North Star bison buffalo. And anyway, you put that on the Q-tip and you put it deep into the ear and you rub it around. That'll improve your hearing. I noticed that when I do it, my hearing improves like in 20 minutes.
I use Q-tips every night to clean my ears, but I've always done that.
But that's just cleaning the wax.
Yeah.
You're putting the oil, the bone marrow, which has stem cells, which increases rapidly cellular production. So cells divide, so all of a sudden the hearing is better.
Is there anything else you could use instead of bone marrow? No, that's it.
Only thing, sperm. The only thing that has intense stem cells. You have to cultivate your husband.
Is it the sperm or the semen? The sperm.
Is there a difference?
It's the sperm contains the high. Manufacture something, I would say they're having a terrible time with profit. 12,000 times, 1,200 to 12,000 times is what they mark up.
Is that why they
medication?
Pay me so much, huh?
Pardon?
Is that why they pay me so much?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a question, Steve?
Yeah, sometimes I have.
Wait a minute, young man. Do you have a question?
Any questions,
right.
Huh?
No?
Right?
No. Yeah, go ahead. Sometimes there's like parts of my skin that are just intensely itchy, and it feels like it's really like deep within my skin, and I just don't know. Sometimes I put like a primal facial cream, and it alleviates me scratching it so I don't bleed.
Right.
But I mean, I haven't found anything that really just kind of takes that away, or like sucks whatever it is there. That's
Well, usually when you have toxins stored in the tissues, like the muscles in your calves,
yeah.
and a lot of people have a lot of poor insulin development, poorly produced insulin that stores in the legs, especially from the knees down, causes a lot of dryness.
Uh-huh.
And as that seeps through the skin, it dries the skin. But that can be a 40-year process. So you just have to take care of it every time.
So what do you put on it, or do you not put anything?
Coconut cream is good. Primal Facial Body Care cream is on.
Okay.
If a fungus erupts along with it, if it has a little odd, musty odor to it, then a fungus is involved. Then put some lime juice on it, and then the coconut cream or Primal Facial on top of that.
Is there anything that's more effective for the actual itchiness? Because sometimes it's like uncontrollably itchy. You know what I'm saying?
What you could do is take a cold slice of cucumber and just massage the area, then put the coconut cream or Primal Facial on top of that. Because the collagen precursors in the silica in the cucumber will soothe it
Okay.
nicely. Anybody have a raw egg I can suck?
I do.
Please.
I feel so funny, bringing this wherever I go. I look around to make sure nobody's looking at me.
Yeah,
Oh, when I did it on TV.
Trader Joe's.
When I did it on TV, they went bananas. All these voices. I was just like.
Oh, I couldn't do that in front of people. They think I'm a nut anyway, so.
I do it on airplanes. I do it.
I know.
One time, I was going through TSA, about to go to Chicago, and I had my half dozen of eggs, so it was taking with me, and they said, "Oh, you can't take the eggs; they're liquid unless you've hard boiled them." And I said, "Well, if you're not going to let me, so I started eating them right there. They freaked. They thought they were going to get salmonella or some disease. So they called the police on me. So the police came. So I had like 2 more eggs to go. And I had a whole dozen. So I'd had about 6 by this point. I had 6 to go. And I was going to eat all of them. And the police said, you have to leave here. You have to go out. And I said, I'm not going to get in line and go all the way out. They're not going to let me take these through here. I'm going to stand. No, we're going to arrest you. And I said, what is that going to look like in court that I got arrested for eating eggs? I said, what jury do you think that's going to pass by? So they just walked away and left me alone. I ate my eggs and went through. But none of them would get near me. All of them backed off as I walked through because they thought they were going to get some salmonella poisoning.
Have you ever opened a high meat in the airport?
Oh, God.
I love to do it in a movie theater.
Oh, God.
These people, they wear all this cologne and this perfume, and it gives me a headache, and most of them don't. There's tons of formaldehyde and these colognes and perfumes, and I get headaches. So I'll take my very high chicken, and you know how stinky that stuff is. Foul chicken. So I'll sit right in the center where I want, and it will clear 2 rows in front and 2 rows in back. And it's funny, they don't go back or forward, they go off to the side.
That's a good idea.
But while they're getting up, I said, if you didn't wear the perfume, I wouldn't bring my odorific food here for you. They don't get it.
Before I go on an airline, I get a place in the back so nobody sees me. I eat my food, and then I go on the airline. What happened?
Whoa!
Pick them up.
He tripped over the cord. I think he cracked his chin. Do you have a question?
Well, I'm not 100% on the primal diet yet, and I haven't read the book.
You're not allowed to be here, get out.
But I just have a question, comment actually. I just think what you said about the red meat is like completely spot on because, yeah, I've been adding raw meat to my diet for these last few months, and it's been red meat only. And I've also been trying around with, experimenting with some cutting carbohydrates out completely and being really high in fat and stuff like that. And every time I introduce just a little carbs, I get these blisters all over my tongue, painful blisters. So that's weird. And another thing I noticed is that my joints make these cracking sounds, cracking noises. And I also sometimes have some pain in my joints. Is this related? I mean, is this something that's missing, like milk, or is it because I don't have carbs?
You don't have enough fat in your body, so you're still causing some cleansing, and all the fat you already have stored, and especially in the joints, are leaving your body. That's why I have the lubrication formula. Anybody as thin as you should be eating 2 a day.
But I mean, I eat a lot of fat. It just doesn't store if I don't have
it's got to
carbohydrates.
be in the formula with lemon, with the butter and the eggs and the honey. That combination. That's why I call it the lubrication formula. For women, it's a moisturizing formula.
So how long time will it take before it goes away? Do you have an idea?
3 months.
Not that bad?
Sometimes quicker. If you have the lubrication formula.
Well, I do now.
Okay, what time is it?
I just want to add something to this.
4:45. We got another round because we got started a little late.
This kid needs to talk. I just wanted to say, I had the same thing that Mark, right? I got you this blisters on the tongue. Now, I always thought it was from salt. Could it be from eating acidic foods? Like
Yeah,
pineapples?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not just salt. Acidic foods. Thank you.
Do you have a question?
The lube drink, I just started doing that. And, it's mostly just the stiffness. I do pottery and I lift a lot of clay. And I get stiff a lot. And I notice, do you think just 1 a day is okay for me?
You're a pretty big guy. You might do 1.5. And what you can do is not have it all at one time. When you're bodybuilding, I tell people to do like a pound at a time with one whole lubrication formula, it's a woman, a moisturizing formula, to build quickly. But in a situation where you have stiffness, brittleness, you break it up into fourths or fifths. So like every 3rd or 4th hour, you have maybe 3 to 4 tablespoons of it.
Of what?
The moisturizing lubrication formula.
Yeah. See, I was just doing it at night. And
Not the time. You've got to spread it out.
oh, okay. I guess I must have misread that. I thought it was best to do it at night. Okay.
Well, that was for a certain condition.
Oh, okay. Okay.
To
Good.
spread it out.
Do you think? I get the feeling that you should almost notice that almost immediately. it affect on your joints and stuff? And mostly, it's just lower back pain or knees, mostly for me.
It depends on how quickly it gets digested into those areas.
I'll just know by trying.
Yep. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have this kind of weird symptom just started, and I'm afraid it's because I've gained so much weight, I'm getting high blood pressure or something, but for the past month I can, see my pulse in my eye. That seems dangerous or something?
Never. Anytime you have high blood pressure, it means that you have pressure on your veins. And to get the blood to flow properly, people who have plaquing in their veins also have high blood pressure. So when the pharmaceutical house, the medical professional says you need to lower your blood pressure, they're putting those people in danger. Those 56,000 people that were studied, and the report came out was 1.5 years, 2 years ago. The people who had the high blood pressure, average around 171, didn't have any heart attacks. The people who had 111 to 121 had all the heart attacks. So just the opposite of what the pharmaceutical and medical community has been saying for 50 years. Just the opposite.
Yeah.
Do you think that test, the results, flew in the newspapers very much?
No.
Got into 3 papers in the United States that I saw.
And I bring that article to every doctor that I go to, and they just poo-poo it.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it.
That's
Don't want
right.
to hear
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Exactly, yeah.
But isn't it the same with cholesterol?
Can you give me a
Yeah,
copy
same
of
thing.
that?
Cholesterol's good.
When you told me I had a little
The
bit of
article
high
you-
blood
that you
pressure,
bring around?
is that dangerous?
I never
or that's
seen
No,
it.
it's good.
He's got it.
Well,
You have that article, right?
yeah, I am.
But
Do you
what
think-
about
Do you think that's what is causing
You
that
got it.
pulsing in my eye? I mean, that I can see my pulse in my eye?
Yeah, well, you're sitting all the time.
Yeah, because it just started
You've got
like
that
a few
weight
weeks ago.
pressing on the veins, and your blood pressure needs to be higher to get through.
Since I've gained 40 pounds from the diet.
You can go on that weight loss,
I've
where
tried
you're
that,
eating
and
a
I
little bit
have-
of meat and the eggs and stuff like that. You could probably lose about 10 pounds, 12 pounds only.
Well, last time I was here, you gave me a weight loss thing to
Yeah.
do, and what it did was it kept me from gaining more weight because I was gaining 6 pounds a month. I haven't gained any weight since then, but I haven't lost a single pound.
Then your body doesn't want to lose it yet. Just wait.
Just wants to be
Sometimes
fat
it
to
takes
be
2.5 years.
Okay. And I just want to ask you real quick, when you're talking about the dryness, when something toxin is coming out, can that be in your lungs too? Because I noticed that my bronchial tubes are just drier than ever. And I
If
keep
you're not
getting,
producing good mucus and the
like
toxins
coughs
are
and
leaving
stuff.
through the bronchioles, yes. Especially smokers, people who've been around factories, pollution.
It doesn't mean that I'm dehydrated then. It
No.
just-
Look at you. You have water retention everywhere. How can you be dehydrated? Do you have a question yet, Matt?
Yeah, I thought of something. All right, on my bike right now, I've been on the road for 6 weeks at least. Going through.
You're slow. I made it cross country in 28 days.
How long ago was that?
That was in 70.
Nah.
No, the last
Gotcha.
time I did that was 80. 80. 80.
Okay.
1980.
Well, between now and then, the air's a lot more polluted.
Yes.
All right. Touche. All right. So I'm really sweating profusely. All right. My clothes, my shirt, everything's totally soaked.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my question. Now I'm kind of assuming that when you vomiting, when you vomit, you're mostly detoxing the gut.
Well, poisons that dump into the stomach.
Okay.
But they could be from the lungs, they could be from the armpits, they could be from anywhere.
Okay. As far as sweating, I feel a lot better since I started this run.
Absolutely.
I mean, I really, I can even jump higher. I feel light on my feet. Where do you think I mostly cleared out? Is it connective? What is sweating best for detoxing? Is it like connective tissue? You know what I mean?
90% of the toxins leave through the skin.
But what
from anywhere in the body,
Anywhere in the
whether it's
body.
the scalp, the brain, everywhere. Wherever you produce the much, wherever you got the wettest.
Man, it was
That's what
most
you
like in
detox.
my chest and on my
Yeah.
back,
So
lower
you
back.
detox the lungs, you know, your liver, your other glands.
That was it.
Funny, I perspired in the head mostly.
Really?
All
Oh
that
yeah, my head
chemotherapy.
too.
All that chemotherapy, I just drip. Still drip.
Yeah, I brought 4 bandanas with me. On the ride, I had to change the bandanas every hour because they'd be totally soaked.
I'd wring mine. Even if I'm having sex, I have to wear a bandana. I perspire so much. And
Is that
because
all
I
you
have
wear?
the pyloplasty, the acids back up into my skin. So if I perspire on my partner, it will cause a burn. It will burn. It will get into the eyes and it will burn. So I have to wear a bandana.
You gotta keep her on top.
Yes, she likes that.
All right,
Okay,
next.
do you have a question?
I think we're okay for right now.
Okay, do you have a question, Allison? No? Lorraine? Hi, you're pretty. You certainly got young.
16
years old. You're beautiful now. I haven't seen you in a while. Wow. If we could just get healthy as fast
16
as
years
these
old,
animals.
he's
Yeah,
very
what's the
healthy.
deal with that?
Well, they've only been eating shit food for 60 years.
Ron keeps asking me when this dog is going to die. He keeps asking me that question. I said
Dogs
he's on
can
this
live to
diet.
28 years old.
He's on this
28.
diet.
28.
Well, that's what's so amazing. I mean, he was on his, he was,
It was his deathbed.
He was
I
ready to
remember.
die
he was on
about
his deathbed,
11.
and all of a
10
sudden,
or 11.
He's drinking the water there.
Well,
well, that's good bacteria.
Okay. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Just cod liver oil. I know you touted it, you know, a couple years ago when he wasn't using all that other garbage. But I just emailed him. Just how do we?
He makes one without that stuff in it. And he sent me some. I tried it. It burns.
No, it has
It-
the rosemary and algae or something.
he has some that doesn't have that in it. But it's only 6 months a year. And he sent some to me.
Okay.
And I tried it, and I don't like it.
That guy in Nebraska?
Yeah,
I didn't like his.
I didn't like it. It wasn't like his first batch.
Really?
Yeah. It just burned my throat. It caused an acid reaction. I felt like I was going to get acid reflux from it. So, the way
My
they
question
fermented
is,
it, I
do
don't think
we
it was a
need-
good way.
Do we need that on our diet?
If you're eating cooked foods, you need excess, you
What are
know,
you talking about?
vitamin D and stuff.
Huh? Oh,
Cod liver oil.
Krill oil.
I've never tried it. I'm not a whale or a seal.
So should I give that stuff? I bought a whole bunch of it.
Pardon?
I bought a whole bunch at one time because I thought it was the stuff that he didn't add anything to it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, because Alicia eats half and half, so should I give it to her? Is it going to help her?
Well, she eats a lot of cooked food. It's okay.
Yeah. Even with the junk in there, whether it's cinnamon
Oh,
or
I thought, no, you bought it without or with the junk in
when
there?
I said the regular, but he sent me when it says regular, and then if you look at the ingredient list, it has rosemary,
Oh.
and it has some other.
Well, that's,
algae
I
in it.
guess, his regular. Most people want that in it.
No, you said it just stays on the shelf longer or something like that.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that's what he calls regular.
Yes, exactly.
Would you say you want
It's
Aajonus's
disgusting.
choice,
Yeah, it's
then
disgusting.
don't put that. Mine doesn't have that in it. But also it doesn't taste very good. It's very acrid. Burns my throat. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
I talked to
Pardon?
you before about it.
Okay. Joseph, do you have another question?
Yeah, I've been trying to straighten my back, and you said the only way I'm going to be able to straighten it is with heat with a hot water bottle in the middle of my back. I've been doing that, and I haven't noticed a lot of difference. How often
I've noticed difference.
How often do I have to do it, and how much?
As often as you want, and often as you can.
If I did it an hour a day, is that enough?
That's helpful, but I would do it at night while you're sleeping. That's the time to do it. Yeah.
It's too hot.
Well, don't make it so freaking hot or put a towel around it.
If you put it on your back when you're sleeping. It's on it'll be in a bed and it'll just compress down. And you got to be on a hard surface so I can.
What about sleeping on a water
No,
bed?
no, it's about relaxing everything so everything stretches out and relaxes. Usually people who have hunched back, you've got the tendons that have buckled, and the tendons are too short. It's like people who get their hands buckled as they get older. The tendons are shrinking, and they can't stretch anything out because the tendons are too short.
What about sleeping
After
outside?
chemotherapy, this whole hand buckled up. The tendons got short. It took me 5 years before I could stretch them out
So
again.
my idea of doing it on a hard surface is not necessary.
You just have to get everything relaxed, a little stretch. And when you wake up, you do the spinal twist. You know, you could do the cobra and the plow. All those things would stretch the spine. When they cauterized my spine from the radiation therapy, this was my movement. That's all I could, and I was in excruciating pain. So I lived on the floor for almost 2 years. The pain was so bad I couldn't move. So I'd crawl on the floor and keep my back stretched by pulling my body like that. So I was a worm on the floor. But, you know, as I got better, I had to, even when I was bicycling, I had to stop every hour to an hour and a half. I had to do the plow and the spinal twist on both sides to keep my back from aching. And then I could go for another hour and an hour and a half bicycling. It doesn't matter how fast I went, it was a time thing. I mean, I went from Shreveport, Indiana to Houston, Texas in one day. That's about 148 miles. And I did it in 10 hours. And that's the pollution to Shreveport, St. Charles.
Pennsylvania?
No, Louisiana. Yeah, so, and it was pretty toxic. But I still only had to stop about once every hour to an hour and a half to stretch. But by doing that over time, now I don't have that problem anymore. I very rarely have backaches. Let's say if I were juicing coconut for 10 hours, I would have a backache for 3 days.
Really hard. Yeah.
Right there, because they irradiated me in here, and it peaked the damage at this spot right here, and that's exactly where I get the pain.
Even juicing. Oh, by the way, I found a way of juicing the vegetable juice that keeps you away from high EMF. Instead of having the thing sideways in front of you, run it into the counter.
That's the way I do it.
And there's almost no EMF in front of it.
That's the way I juice.
An 8-ounce wide mouth jar, it just stays there. You can have it right at the edge, almost falling off, so that you don't have to be bent over. You can be straight. And
that's the way I've always juiced.
Okay, well I didn't know that.
I didn't know people juice to the side.
Pointing towards you.
Yes, pointing right towards you.
So it's like a shot at you.
But it's on the side. It's all over.
Oh no.
Electromagnetic field.
I've been zapping myself all this time.
Yeah.
Okay, but why? And what type of juicer is that?
It's a Green Star.
No.
The motor's in the back. And the EMF field broadcasts about a foot. And the motor's back here with the bit and the gears coming out almost about 10 inches. You know, you've got another 2 inches before you're against it. And even your hand is high enough where it's not getting into the field with the plunger. And he wants to. My Green Star, my Green Star Gold came with a wooden plunger as well as a plastic. But he's saying that his Green Star 1000 didn't come with a wood plunger.
Or they break. Or they're not
But you can order them.
You can just buy a piece of wood.
You can order.
But that's what he did. He ordered he got a dowel, which is 1 3/4 inches.
Inch and a quarter.
Inch and a quarter.
You know, for your clothes.
Yeah.
Your clothes. Yeah, the clothes thing at Home Depot.
Yeah.
It's real simple.
And a lot of times you go in just for the old scrap cut.
Is there can you put like coconut, or do you have to be concerned that there's anything in here?
Giving that away?
Well, there's nothing in that. That's not treated.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because you can see it.
Well,
Yeah, you might have a little on the outside there may be a little creosote because of the color.
Is this?
But
did
it
you
could have
use
been
this
handled.
wrong, or?
No, you
No,
better
it
wash
looks like it
out.
was routed. See, this looks like it was polished going through the
You can sand it.
the router. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
you could sand
know,
it.
it's fine.
I just cut
It
it.
hasn't been treated. If it were treated with, let's say, greens to creosote,
Creosote.
yeah, it would be green.
No, they treat it with resin.
Yeah. They treated that with the resin?
No, but that's
Yeah.
if they would treat it,
Yeah.
it would be with, that's a really old though. That's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Because I had that in my garage for years.
This thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
The
you just
wood.
might want to sand it a little bit on the outside.
Okay, what's been in your garage?
He's got so much in his garage.
Do you have a question, Lisa?
Doing a second one?
Yeah. We're going around for the second time. Okay.
Yeah. Talk
Joseph.
about grains. Your guy does not have grains. Is that right?
Not really. Yeah.
Because I seem to have a hard time getting off of crackers, bread. What's the oatmeal in the morning?
Well, I don't suggest that. I suggest having the nut formula. But if the nut formula doesn't work for you, then you have to have a little grain.
Nut formula drives my brain crazy. I get too much neuro stuff.
Yeah.
Nut
Too many
formula.
neurotoxins.
Yeah.
Well, you're around the formaldehyde and the embalming for all those years. You know, your family was
Lived in the
embalmers.
Lived in one of those,
So probably you're going to have cook a little bit of cooked starch almost every other day for a very long time.
I crave that. Is that why?
Yep.
Oh. Does that really work? I don't need much. I just
Can
want
you
to...
have the rice and the butter?
Yeah.
Like you have?
Yeah.
I know
What's that?
Alicia loves tarts, and I don't know what to give her anymore. She's going for chips, or she's going for, I don't know what.
Or
what
give
to
her
mix.
some rice and butter, or something like that. Something that's a fresh cooked starch, not something that's boiled in oil like a chip.
I don't do them very often.
Those are the worst.
I know they are.
They're the most cancer-causing of all that, and
Even
then
the
donates
natural
is
ones?
next, and
Yeah,
cereal.
donuts.
Even the natural one?
Pardon?
Even the natural one?
There's no such thing as a natural one.
I buy it in pieces.
Thank you.
Only natural ones if you make them yourself.
I'm on your diet. I'm really religious about it. But sometimes I like to eat something else because I'm so limited to the fish and the meat or the meat and the whatever.
Well, just
I
remember
go
when you
crazy, so I eat chocolate instead, and that's not so good. So
Well, I've got a chocolate recipe.
okay, you told me about that. But I mean, if I want to eat something else that doesn't constipate me, because when I'm on your diet, I'm great. But if I go off the diet,
But look in the recipe book. I've got pies, cheesecakes, all kinds of wonderful things. It's like we've got. If you
not
wouldn't have to
talking- I'm
eat
not
the
talking-
same thing every day for
I'm not
a
talking
year.
about desserts. I'm talking about regular.
But those are the sauces.
Regular cooked food, right?
Take a look at it.
Brown rice?
Eat the same
I love brown
foods.
rice.
These people are eating the same foods, and it's mainly grain. But it has different flavors.
What do you mean? Who's eating grain?
Everybody out in the world that's eating cooked foods,
Well, we
they're
know
eating
that.
the
90% of the
same
country.
foods.
We know that.
They're just flavored different. That's why I made 82 sauces. You can be made in 3 to 5 different ways.
But a lot of them either. All right.
Find
a
the
lot
ones.
of them have too much.
How many
Cream in
foods
it.
did they
Just
eat?
lower the amount of
Oh,
cream.
just lower it. Okay.
Yeah.
How many foods did that tribe eat? 3 different foods?
3 foods. That was it. 3 foods.
Yeah, but they don't go to work every
And
day
they don't.
like
They don't
we
have
do.
a stressful life either. It's
No, it's a great life. It's like they're in constant
Are
retirement.
they
from the time they're bored.
Are they taking new members?
What a
there?
life!
Are they taking members at that tribe?
I thought I'd be ready to go there too.
I would have
My
stayed
kinda
there
life.
probably.
When do they put a McDonald's in there? That's
They got to give them the television first.
That's right. That's how it works.
Steve, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, how you say in raw tuna the mercury isn't assimilated because it's raw. It's not cooked and it's not actually released, right?
It's not released.
Yeah. So wouldn't that apply to like if a chicken eats soy or if it has growth hormones or antibiotics? Wouldn't that be also kind of inactivated and not really assimilated when you eat it?
Well,
See what I'm saying?
no, because the fat will be made from that, not the fat is made from a good substance and binds with the toxin. The
made from the
toxic
soy.
fat in the soy is what it's making its fat with, so the fat is toxic in itself.
But the antibiotics would not be, you wouldn't be actually eating that or assimilating that. Because that's not-
Absolutely, because that would be mean if you're eating a processed cooked product like soy, that animal is going to be making that, putting that hormone and antibiotic into their food, into their cells.
Okay.
And then you're going to be digesting their cells.
So the tuna's different because it's not actually incorporated into
It's attached to the fat molecules, but not incorporated into it.
Okay.
Now there is organic mercury that is normally in the plankton that they eat before industry started dumping it into the ocean and the other water streams. That mercury is assimilated and utilizable in a positive way.
Okay.
But that's a different mercury. It's not an industrially produced mercury.
What do you mean?
It's a natural plant mercury.
What do you mean assimilated in a positive way?
Well, there's mercury in every leaf out there. And parsley has mercury in it. Cilantro has mercury in it. All these foods have mercury. It's part of the element of everything in life. And when it's in micro trace amounts, it's a benefit. The body can utilize it in a positive way. Concentrated in swordfish, and if you eliminate, you lower the amount of absorption into a swordfish, he doesn't jump as high. Can't jump, can't make those big leaps. So that helps that animal be more buoyant and more flexible, that particular element, but it's in trace amount.
Did you hear about the mercury in corn syrup?
That's been around a
Been
long
around a long
time. The
time.
first time I read about that was in about 69.
Well, I haven't
They
heard of
keep regurgitating the same stuff. And it's all there.
It's been there all along.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not good.
Bragg was talking about that way a long time when corn syrup, they started putting corn syrup in everything instead of sugar when they started using that as an alternative.
So it has high amounts of mercury in it?
Yeah.
Great. I mean, I don't eat it. So I don't
You have a question now,
Yeah, I
Lisa?
have my question. Like, when I get a symptom, I try to figure out what it is.
Why is it a plane flies over when you ask a question?
Tell them more
When I get a symptom,
Are you high?
high?
Planes are high.
Flying high. So my question is, like, when I have a symptom, I'll try to figure it out. But you need to try to figure it out, and I can figure it out toward the medical person. Like, this is my toes and whatnot. Some people say, oh, that's arthritis. Some people say, no, it's neurological damage. And then I'm like,
And these are all health experts.
yeah, and then I'm like, well, then I always wonder, like, well, what is it? So I can look it up in your book. So I look it up under MS is one thing. So I look it up under arthritis is another. So how do you determine, like, my case in the toxicity? Is that neurological?
That would be neurological from a poisoning.
Okay, so then
If you had, let's say, your joints were swollen and you had rashes around your joints, that could be arthritis. But what that is the toxin has damaged the cartilage in your joints. Usually that's a fungus from tetracycline or mainly penicillin, lives in the joints and in the bones. So that would have caused, most of your arthritis and rheumatism is caused from penicillin, another antibiotic. So if it is working, if it is eating, if that fungus, remember when you're getting an antibiotic, a fungal medication, it's been sterilized to about 112 degrees. That will not kill it permanently. It just puts it out of commission, puts it in hibernation for about a year and a half. And then once it gets a hold of you, there's no off switch again. the RNA and DNA for turning it off and going into hibernation doesn't exist. So that penicillin or that antibiotic fungus will constantly grow in your body as long as you're eating the things it can feed on, and that's grains.
So then if it's neurological versus arthritic or like neurological, because there's different foods that can make that, for neurological.
If it were a poisoning, you've got heavy metals and other chemicals that have damaged the cells, the neurological cells, or interfering with their transmission. You need to remove those, and then to get to help replace new neurological cells.
When you get neurological, I know it's an atrophy found, in size, that's just smaller, an atrophy, almost looks like that, but not really. But that's just actually neurological.
That's not arthritis. Arthritis is an infection in the joints.
I see. The neurological can cause atrophy because it's tissue, or?
It can cause, because if the heavy metals have gone in and damaged the cells, guess what? Those nerve passages shrink. It's like you get poisoned and you get skinny. Yeah. So the same thing happens internally on a microscopic level.
The nerves that don't make new cells, some of them generate?
On this diet, your body makes new cells.
It will make new nerve
New
cells?
cells, absolutely. As long as you're eating raw meats, especially raw chicken or raw poultry and raw fish.
That regenerates new cells.
Not only regenerate cells, but will help reproduce new cells.
Why do they tell you that you don't make new cells?
Because people don't eat raw meat. They don't observe people eating raw meat.
What website is that where they show the nerve cells disintegrating when they put the mercury?
University of Toronto. Do you have another question?
Yeah, you said about what you said about fish. That the mercury binds to the fat, so you don't recommend lean fish at all. If it's complete fat-free,
There's no such thing.
Or those cuts at least. Like
probably
cod
not. Yeah, probably not a good idea. Whenever I go into the fish market, I always get the fattiest part.
Okay.
Oh, and in Philippines, it's like ecstasy. They have 7,107 islands in the Philippines.
Oh, wow, really?
7,107 islands. So you've got these tribes all over the freaking place because you got all these small little islands where you can't get industry on there. Some of them are almost all mountainous, like the one I was on with the tribes, and you can't cultivate it, in a way where it's productive, where you can run trucks and tractors through. So nobody touches them. Nobody wants their land. They'll go and take their trees, maybe, when they get around to
What
it.
kind of fish did they fish for? What did they?
Oh, they caught everything. And I was going into the market. I would go in there every 2 days, and I would go for in the evening. You go in the evening because you get that fresh caught fish for that day. And there were swordfish that were this big around. There were tuna that were this big around. You get those delicious cuts. I was eating like 3 pounds in a sitting. It was so delicious. It was like nothing I've ever tasted before.
And you love
Phenomenal. Pardon?
You said your favorite is swordfish.
Yeah.
I never tried it.
Swordfish. Oh, yeah.
Isn't that over?
This tuna was close. This very fresh tuna was close to
It's
the
different than the
swordfish.
tuna here. It's different than the tuna here.
Oh, I mean, it's fresh caught.
How can you eat 3
Very
pounds
different.
in one sitting?
It was just like candy. I
Is that overeating?
just melted in my
Buy me
mouth.
some tuna, I'll show you how
Pardon?
it's done.
Isn't that overeating?
Not for there. They just hiked miles back into the mountains. I'm not a person who exercises. This is my exercise on my computer. So I carry my groceries once a week. And here I was boating, and then hiking, for 10 hours.
You didn't get tired.
12 hours. No, I was excited, but I was hungry. When I got back, I was hungry.
Does it have salmon there?
Yeah, not much, a little bit.
Did you eat with the tribe?
No.
No.
Are there people milking animals over there? Is it easy to get raw dairy over there when you travel?
Well, you have to know where the farms are, the dairy farms. I had not been ever refused, though. They never said, "Oh God, you can't do that. We'll be in trouble." Automatically, they'll give me as much raw milk as I want. Well, not give me.
Are they making raw butter over there, or
no?
Is that against the government there too?
No.
Oh, not in the Philippines?
No.
Raw?
Well, it might be, but nobody. I mean, when I went to the
Italy,
dairies there and got
Italy,
it.
They were crazy. They were like, "Oh no, we get locked up in jail."
Who?
In Italy.
Oh.
Like it went in the back countries, and they were.
That's crazy. In Italy, they sell it in. There are machines. You can buy it in machines.
Northern part.
In the northern, yeah.
Northern part. Next to
they got raw milk vending machines?
Yeah, they have raw milk vending machines. They have.
They do, yeah.
I think I saw there were 1,168 of them vending machines. Which,
they did have that. I
yeah,
saw that. That was
raw
cool.
milk. Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you, when I went to Hawaii, in Kauai, I couldn't get any raw milk. I couldn't get any goat milk. I couldn't get any cow milk. I tried every source in Kauai, Hawaii.
Yeah.
My son got married, and I schlepped 4 containers of organic pastures with me. I tried everything.
Well, you just have to go to the tribes in the center of the island. That's where I got it.
Oh.
Yep. Okay, folks, that's it. Thank you for coming, everybody. The next one will be February 22nd at the dance studio, so we'll be dancing for an hour after.
What kind of dancing?
If you want.
What kind of dancing?